The desperation of the ANC, I think, is so obvious right now. Yesterday, we made a video showing just how desperate Ramaphosa, Paul Mashatile, Fikile Mbalula has been speaking to the various sort of outlets of the ANC, and this has now continued. So when you actually go and look, the ANC is now doing their special roll call with all of their delegates from around the country, and effectively, it's probably one of the most telling, open, and honest conversations I've ever seen within the ANC. Ramaphosa did not hold back. Ramaphosa absolutely bit into the ANC. First and foremost, again, another call to build a transparent, accountable, and ethical country where the institutions are sort of doing the job that the people elected them to do. And here you have, for example, I won't submit you guys to actually having to listen to this man speak, because even when he's really angry, he speaks too slow. So it's a little bit annoying. But effectively, Ramaphosa openly admits, this is not even effectively. I said effectively, but it's not effectively. He literally admits it. The DA are the best run municipalities in the country, and that the ANC should go learn from the DA what it is that they're doing correct and try to emulate that. He goes on to basically say that it is unacceptable for any municipality in this country run by the ANC to not deliver services to the citizens of that municipality. And then they go into a bit of a sort of discussion about what will happen to municipalities if they don't perform. Now, in this, he makes a weird sort of mistake. And I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's more he doesn't understand what's actually happening. He speaks about the auditor reports and how a lot of the municipalities in this country don't even do their own audit reporting. They instead get someone from outside to do the audit reporting, and then it's completely wrong. Now, for those of you that don't know what an audit report is, it's basically the municipality giving feedback and providing the actual accounting for everything that they have done. So they got R1 million, and they spent that R1 million year, and year, and this is what they have to show for it, and so on. And so it's a performance report, effectively. And Ramaphosa was like, well, it's unacceptable that you guys can't do your own audit reporting. There are people in this country that can do audit reporting, and you should get them to start doing it in-house, inside. And that these audit reports, because for those of you, again, that don't know, the ANC, not a single one of their municipalities has ever received a clean audit report from the Auditor General of this country. Meaning actually, yes, every single ANC municipality continuously, when they get audited, come back with massive amounts of money that is just gone. Like, they don't know where that money went. Where compare that to DA-run municipalities, which consistently, time and again, get clean. They are the only municipalities that get clean audit reports. What Ramaphosa fails to realize is that it's not a mistake, because he treats it as if it's a mistake. It's not a mistake. These audit reports are false and wrong on purpose, because the members that are putting this forth, and this is the thing, this is the mistake that Ramaphosa is making. Ramaphosa doesn't understand that none of this, the lack of service delivery, the money just seemingly going away and no one knows where it's going, none of this is a mistake. This is a result of 30 years of corruption being allowed to grow, being allowed to fester. And now you are filled to the brim with an organization where every single person is trying to see how rich can they get before the party actually stops. Now, you can see from just looking at the interviews here, or looking at the speeches here, Ramaphosa is stressed. Fikile Mbalula is stressed. He also spoke at this. You can tell that they understand, the NEC, the leaders of the ANC, understand that they're in trouble. The problem is, they don't know what to do about it. And that's because the corruption cannot stop. The only people that are left within the ANC are people that want to make themselves rich. They're there because they've heard this is a great place to eat. This is a great place to scoop. So if you now tell these criminals, hey, you cannot scoop anymore, why would they listen? There's no time anymore. You should have done this 30 years ago. when Nelson Mandela overlooked Winnie Mandela's corruption scandal, the first great corruption scandal of this country back in, I think, 1996 or 1997. When that happened, right, that's where you should have clamped down on corruption and stopped it in its tracks. The issue is that you constantly have brothers and friends who get involved in these issues, and you, the ANC, the NEC, is filled with ministers and people who are to the brim, to the max corrupt. And you wonder why you can't get rid of the corruption, because you're all corrupt, right? The issue is you're trying to tell the lower hands to stop stealing, while all of them can look to you and go, wait, but Pala, the ministers in your cabinet that are all engaged in untoward behavior, why would I stop stealing if the bosses are stealing? So it's never going to end. If Ramaphosa and the ANC wants to fix this country, here's what needs to happen. Because all of these, great, clean up the municipalities, but service delivery requires money, and you don't have money. You have a tax base that has shrunk to the point where roughly 7 million South Africans are keeping this little ship alive. And they're keeping the ship alive in the wake of over 26 million South Africans being unemployed, and furthermore, just millions of South Africans not earning enough to actually pay any taxes, and the taxes they do pay is absolutely nothing. So you're not going to have the money to actually deliver on the services that is required, and the only way for you to get the money to deliver on the services that is required is to grow the economy. This is going to happen when you drop BEE, drop affirmative action, and drop employment equity. And before anyone coming at me and say, well, oh, you just want apartheid back, you don't want transformation. Okay, I can sit here and I can explain to you in painstaking business economical detail why BEE, affirmative action, and employment equity does not work, and in fact kills economic development of any nation, right? I can explain it in so much detail, and I have in the past. But let's ignore it. Let's say that BEE, employment equity, and affirmative action didn't really kill the economy. It just sort of, did whatever. Let's say that you took BEE to your absolute heart's content. You made it so that 100% of white people are no longer allowed to work in South Africa, and only black people are allowed to be part of the economy of South Africa. And let's imagine that, white people left the country because they can no longer work, or maybe you killed all of us. Like, you literally dreamed to your heart's content. You'll find that there's roughly 4.5 million white people in South Africa. Of that, right, only about 2.7 million are of working age, so 18 to 65. So in other words, right, you don't have to worry about the remaining. They're not working currently. So you have 2.7 million people in this country that are white, that if you were to get BE, EE, and AA to exclude all white people from everywhere in the economy, you would bring the actual unemployed number of black people in this country from 27 million, you would bring it down to about 25 million. So 25 million black people are still not employed in this country. They still have no future in this country. You've changed no one's lives. South Africa currently creates less than 100,000 jobs a year. We add more than 600,000 people to the economy every single year. So young people that go from the age of 18 to working age now, they're going to join the economy. So you will make up the difference of the 2.7 million people that you have removed from the unemployment ladder, right? And you killed all the other white people because we don't want more unemployment, right? But you've effectively taken that, and within 5 years, you'll be right back to 27.5 million people that are unemployed in this country. So even if you wanted to believe that BE somehow saves the black people, how? Your logic may work if there were as many white people as there are black people, but there aren't. There are millions of black people in this country, and there is about 2.7 million white jobs in this country. If you took all of that, you still have 25 million black people without a job, without anywhere to live, without food to eat, and maybe you killed 2.7 million white people. Great. That's pretty much it. Or maybe you let us leave. Who knows? The point is, BEE will never benefit the average black man on the street, even if you did it at 100%. Moreover, BEE requires that 30% of the business be sold to black people. If you're living in Khayelitsha or in Soweto, I have news for you. You cannot afford 30% of any business. You don't have the money. You're living in a township in a shack. How are you going to get millions of rands to buy your way into a business? So those businesses aren't just given to people. The black people who have bought into it are people who are connected to the ANC. They already have millions of rands, and so they use their millions to buy their way into the business. So it's not going to affect you or help you in any way, shape, or form. So none of this works. None of this actually leads to the betterment of ordinary South Africans. And BEE, affirmative action, and employment equity destroys economic growth. You want to fix this country, here's how you do it. You drop BEE, affirmative action, and employment equity immediately, get rid of it. Doesn't work. Next, you announce to the world that South Africa values and protects private property, and no one's property will be expropriated without compensation. You announce to the world that South Africa is open for business. We want as many companies to come into the country as is possible. You drop the corporate tax from 33%, I believe it currently sits at, to roughly 20%. I think 20% is a good number for corporate taxes. And then you pass well thought out and clever regulations that allow for companies to operate and do business in South Africa, but also benefit the ordinary South Africans on the street. Make it so that we can build new nuclear power plants, relax the regulations around nuclear power stations so that we can get electricity, and then say to companies, hey, Apple, you want to sell Apple products to our people? Great. We want you to sell Apple products to our people, but make them here. And you don't have to make all of them here, right? You don't have to produce everything, but make something here. Open a factory that produces AirPods if you have to, right? As long as you employ some of our people in this country, you are welcome to sell as much as you want. And if you don't want to, because you feel like there's no point in having a factory here in South Africa, no worries. But then we are going to charge you a tiny little tariff so that we can create more opportunities for people to actually get in and start businesses and factories here in the country. That is what I would do to fix South Africa, because that's the only way to do it. And then you allow for good quality education so that people can work their way out of poverty over the course of generations, because that's the only way to do it. No country on earth has ever taxed its way into prosperity. It just does not happen. If you like what I do and you think more people should have access to the kind of content that I make, please consider hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and leaving a comment, because engagement truly helps. Then a massive shout out and thank you to all of the patrons and the YouTube channel members. Without your support, I would not be able to do what I do, so click the link in the description down below or hit the join button right below this video. As always, be good to each other, be kind to each other, and I will see all of you in the next one. Peace.